I'm back, and I thought I would take a moment to show you how to do some simple henna tattoo base designs. One of the designs that's used so commonly in many tattoos is the flower, like the one I have on the back of my wrist here. It's actually quite easy to do, or easier than it looks, let's put it that way. And I am speaking about the base flower. Obviously all the ornamentation around it is a little bit harder, especially for me since I am right-handed and I have to do this left-handed. But you shouldn't have that problem if you continue to work with the opposite hand that you are, I guess, inclined to use. Basically, it all starts with a little circle, which is the simplest thing to do in the whole realm of any design, whether it's artwork or henna artwork. So we do a little circle. And the trick to henna and the applicator, if you use this type rather than, say, the jack bottle, is that it's all about practicing the pressure, because it's all in the wrist, as they say, or in the hand. If you squeeze too hard, you're going to get too much henna. If you don't squeeze enough, you'll get broken lines. So the idea is to get a smooth line, and that's why I suggest practicing on paper. So we put a little dot in the center, similar to what we have here, and the rest is sort of free flow. But it's up to you how you want it to look, and don't judge yourself until you've done it a couple of times, because allow yourself the latitude to make mistakes. One petal, quite simply just kind of an arch or almost a rounded off triangle or diamond. Another petal, and you really can do this one with 4 petals, maximum 5 petals, and still come out with what looks like a very beautiful flower. I'm going to go for 5 petals and just overlap them to each other. And here we go, the 5th petal. And you have a flower. It's very basic, but you can embellish on that flower and make it much more of a ornate little flower, or at least a little bit more decorative. And make it a little thicker around the edge. And the reason I'm going to do this is because I'm going to show you how to get this thin, washed out design that gives you shading or depth in your petals. So if we go around and we give a little bit of extra henna to each petal, just follow your other line. Once you have a line down, it's pretty easy to follow that line. It's the first line, and that's true of any artist, you know, it's true for me, even drawing on paper for the purpose of basic art. The first line is always the hardest. So now that you have that henna down, we take a little paintbrush. In this case, it's not very big at all, and just dip it in water and drag it down the edge of that extra henna that you just put on. Now it'll smooth out a little bit more on the skin because your skin has a different texture than this paper does. But wherever you've watered out the henna and spread it like this, it's still going to stain, but it's going to stain it at a different density to the actual thick henna paste of each of these lines. And if you want it more watered out, just put more water. You know, it's up to you. What you see here will be the depth of shade you're going to see on your hand or your arm. So you go around, add a little water to each of these petals, and it just changes the simplistic view of this flower to something less simplistic almost instantly. Makes it look a little bit more intentional and artistic. A little bit more water on that. And then here's the other thing too. Once you've done the shading, don't hold back in using that same space for a little bit more definition. This area that's been shaded, this area, as in this area on this tattoo, has more definition in the middle. Now notice that this tattoo is faded more than here. These are brand new tattoos. If you saw my other videos, I just did these the other day. Further up the arm you go into this type of skin, the more you're going to see that the henna tattoo is a little bit less definition. The hands, the palms, the feet, and the bottoms of the feet have the best definition with the stain itself. So we're going to give this a little bit of floral definition to give it a little bit more depth. And just makes it look a little bit more like a natural flower, you know, because we all have the little pedestal in the center of the flower, and then the little feelers that come out and offer pollen to the bees. and that's what we're doing here. So now we have a flower that looks a little bit more like a flower. Now you have two choices here. You can add another flower, so you can make a little cluster of flowers, or you could add a leaf. I think I'm going to do both. I'm going to start by adding a little flower over here, because flowers never are completely centered to each other. Go for a petal, and the top of another petal that's hidden behind, and yet another one, and then 4, and it'll assume 5 is behind here. You'd go around because you want them to match. Do the same thing with the wet leaf. As you can see, it's much easier for me to do this on paper than on my own hand. I can go much faster. If I was doing it on somebody else, I could go as fast as I am on the paper because I have a more astute angle and I have more control over my hand, my wrist, and everything else, instead of having to bend it in a contorted and unnatural way just to get the henna tattoo on my arm. That just gives you the definition of how much I love henna, that I'm willing to twist my arm in a way it's not naturally meant to go just so I can get the henna tattoo on. It's not that I'm averse to having other people do henna tattoos for me, it's just that I don't live in an area where it's as prevalent, or I'm not as aware of prevalent henna tattoo artists where I am. So that was part of the reason why I chose to teach myself. So there we go. Put the little definition in here. And basically you have 2 flowers. You've drawn 2 circles, 2 dots, a bunch of straight lines. Anybody can draw a straight line pretty much, right? And these are freeform, so they could be triangular, they could be perfectly round, they could be whatever you want, and believe it or not, it's going to appear as a flower to the mind because we're used to seeing flowers with petals and centers. I'm going to do 1 leaf. It's relatively simple as well. You just come up and make sort of an arch, a pointed little arch. Sort of a swaying line, and we need 1 to meet it, sort of like if it was a church steeple. And you can already see, you know these flowers, so your mind assumes that's a petal, or a leaf. So draw your center line for the veining of your leaf. And here you can either do just plain old straight lines to, again, continue to convince people who are looking at this that this in fact is a leaf instead of just a bunch of henna lines on a piece of paper. Or you can do some of the more fancy sort of work that I tend to do with my leaves because I get bored with straight lines. I do little curly cues, which are completely unnatural, just artistic. And broken lines in the leaf veining, there's nothing wrong with that because in nature, leaf veins are not perfect. So now you have 2 little flowers and a leaf. And imagine that in a couple of minutes. What a nice little tattoo that would make on your hand or your palm. Very simple to do, even when you're learning. If you wanted to go a little further, you could outline it just to give it a little bit more embellishment, a little bit more finalization, make it a little bit more ornate. It's up to you. If you want simplistic, you could leave the leaf out and just do a simple flower. You could just go around the flower with a row of dots, for that matter. And I'll stop here and show you what I mean. You could complete this by just doing a border of simple dots. It seems like it wouldn't look all that special, but somehow it becomes special. And it's easy to do. It's much harder to draw continuous than it is to do small broken elements. Ultimately, if you think of the henna tattoo as a bunch of simple elements, that's really all it is. And there you go, a beautiful little henna tattoo.